Hello and welcome to the show. I am Suzanne Lynn, and Nancy Lynn is with us today. Nancy was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease called relapsing polychondritis in 2011. She serves as the director of the chair of the RP Foundation and are the founders for the Race for RP. Welcome, Nancy. I'm glad that you're here today.
Thank you, Suzanne. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And I can't help right off the bat noticing the beautiful birds that are singing in the background. You must be in a great warm state.
I am very fortunate to have these birds singing. It's a pleasure to listen to them on this beautiful sunny day. Thank you.
And I just think about the little bit that I know about RP, and I'm going to keep it to RP because relapsing polychondritis is really difficult for me to say, but I'd love to know more about it, what it is. And I know that there's quite an extent of pain that comes with that. So would you kind of enlighten us of what it is?
Relapsing polychondritis, otherwise known as RP, is a disease that affects the cartilage, and it affects the cartilage in all different places. It's a lot of inflammation, and it impacts cartilage, of course, in the joints, but in the nose, the ears, the eyes, the airways, the heart, the brain. And it is something that is, as you said, hard to say, relapsing polychondritis, otherwise known as RP, but it's also very difficult to diagnose.
What are some of the first signs of RP? How would someone who's watching this go, oh my goodness, I just thought that was arthritis, or I just thought that was, this outbreak or something like that? What are some of the signs people can look for?
Everybody's different, but the main clinical sign that helps with the diagnosis of relapsing polychondritis is ear pain, not in the lobe, but the rest of the ear. And pain where it is difficult to sleep on your side, where it hurts to touch your ear. When I get my hair cut, if somebody hits my ear, or even sometimes somebody goes in for a hug, it can hurt the ear. But in my particular case, I started out having a lot of skin symptoms, and I had a lot of skin lesions for a couple of years, including pain in my joints. But it wasn't until a couple of years with having all kinds of other symptoms before I had the ear pain. And I think probably for other patients, ear pain may be one of the first symptoms. But for me, that was the clincher to diagnose that I had the disease.
So the only ear pain that I can relate to is maybe swimmer's ear. When I was a kid and I get water in my, is it kind of like that aching, or is it that times 100?
For me, it's more the outside of the ear.
Okay.
It's the actual cartilage part,
Okay.
where these headphones are on, and up a little higher.
Okay. And this is really, am I understanding that it's an inflammation disease? I mean, I'm thinking that there are all kinds of inflammation diseases, and I think I'd mentioned arthritis and stuff, but is that the kind of the foundation of what this is?
It is. I am treated by a rheumatologist who does treat rheumatoid arthritis patients as well as other inflammatory disease. But it is a disease that also affects the respiratory system, the upper and lower airways. And yes, it definitely is inflammation everywhere.
Okay. So to what extent can this be mild to where some people don't even know they have it, to worst case scenario?
The name of the disease is relapsing polychondritis, and some people do have flares. And the most challenging symptom is when people have respiratory problems, and some people need to have trachs. Some people need to have oxygen because it does affect the airways. And in my case, one of the other symptoms that I have is that it affects my larynx. And so it's very difficult for me to talk on a cell phone it's very difficult for me to talk loud or for a long time because I get very hoarse and I get a very sore throat.
So someone who's watching this going, oh my goodness, my wife has been complaining about her ears hurting, her throat. This might be putting some puzzle pieces together that if you say it's difficult to diagnose, maybe this should be something that you bring to the attention of your doctor. Could it be RP? And are they likely to say, what's RP? Because they don't know about it?
That's why we're doing the work that we're doing, is to educate patients, physicians, and families about this disease. It can be fatal, and it is very painful.
I'm really sorry to hear that, Nancy. I really am. What type of treatment is available for people with relapsing polychondritis?
Because it is such a rare disease, there aren't any treatments specifically for relapsing polychondritis. There are medications such as steroids and prednisone and anti-inflammatories and biologics, but they're not specifically for relapsing polychondritis. And that's why we're doing the research, so that we can come up with better ways to diagnose, say, a blood test, and better ways to treat and to prevent deaths, when people dying from not being able to breathe and being on respirators or ventilators.
I mean, major change of life. This is so extreme in the way that it can affect, people's lives and families. You are the champion for this. What type of things are you rallying around and people coming on board going, yes, let's get more involved. Let's get more awareness. Let's move this effort forward through, different fundraisers and types of things, because we need to know about this. This is out there. You're not the only one with this. What type of things are you doing?
Well, there are many people who are champs in this cause, many, and I could not do what I'm doing with the help from my family and my board and my friends. Everybody has come together in just a very short time, a few years, to help me through not just my own suffering, but to help others so that they don't have to go through what I went through. And we have very accomplished a lot just in a few years. We
like the foundation, right? You've got a foundation?
We have the Relapsing Polychondritis Foundation, and we have a website that is up to date. It's called there's two websites. One is the polychondritis.org for the Relapsing Polychondritis Foundation.
Okay.
And the other website is raceforrp.org.
What is that about?
Race for RP is about our platform that we use to raise awareness for relapsing polychondritis. My husband is into motorsports. My husband has always been a car guy, and he races cars. He races different cars, different makes, different models, and different series. And he races with what they call the livery on the car saying race for RP. And people will ask, well, what's RP? And his fire suit that he wears and his helmet, and we have decals, and it's Race for RP. And Race for RP is to help raise not just awareness, but funds so that we can push for more research for relapsing polychondritis.
Yeah, it's really a combination, right? It's awareness and funds. You can be aware of it, but without the funds, there's nothing to really help move this along. And the idea of being able to diagnose this through a blood test, I mean, that must sound like a miracle to you from where you've come, right?
Yes, that would be a miracle. But yeah. I believe in miracles.
I do too. You know, Nancy, I also have heard that you wrote a documentary called RP, The Ride of My Life. Can you talk to me about that?
Sure. About 5 years ago, I did write a documentary with the help of a filmmaker. His name is Roy Medawar. And we did a documentary about my journey, about getting a diagnosis and how the time that it took to get through it. And I was very fortunate to have some very dear friends and family members who volunteered their time to be a part of the documentary. And I am a cyclist, and RP, The Ride of My Life, stands for cycling. And it is a documentary that is still being seen and still helps newly diagnosed patients. And the whole theme at the end was having purpose changes everything. And since the documentary came out, I have had the purpose to push for research. And as I previously said, the motorsports is what has really been the positive. My husband races cars. His name is Neil. And my brother Mike, and his name is Mike Linn, and my two other board members, Dave Bammer and David DeRosa, have helped to not only keep the other videos and other movies going with social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and our websites. So go to those websites, raceforrp.org, polychondritis.org, to see the movie RP, The Ride of My Life. It's a 22-minute movie, and it's still current.
I love it. Probably gives a lot of great information that we're not able to get into here on the interview. Oh, and you know what? I believe that there was a special announcement that was just made today. Are you able to share about that a little bit?
Sure. Yes, I would love to. Today, we just announced a new program with the University of Pennsylvania, and they will be studying relapsing polychondritis. And it's been in the works for a while, but today's the day, and it's very exciting. We have a program that is set to start with collaboration with the National Institutes of Health, and working together to study and help patients again with getting a better and a faster diagnosis and better treatment.
That is wonderful. I mean, Nancy, it sounds like amazing things ahead. It sounds like you have a force and a humongous team behind you, cheering you on, and everyone that has this. And I think that a year from today, this whole cause is going to look a lot different and a lot more advanced further down the road with progress. And it's because of you and all the cheerleaders and everybody dedicated to make that happen. So thank you so much. We definitely have to check back in a little while, see how things are going. And I'm so glad that you shared with us. And I'm sorry for the pain, the physical pain that you're going through. I guess in some way, being quarantined has, if we try to find the bright side, has maybe been a blessing for you. So as we look around and we go, there's a lot to talk about the negative. We can also see some really good positive. You shine a light and it just comes right through. So thank you so much, Nancy.
Thank you, Suzanne.